taking it to a very morbid place, I feel like now.
Yeah, I just feel like this isn't the space to podcast because I feel like I'm not that entertaining and bubbly and fun.
Right. Neither am I.
No, you're definitely not.
We're pretty goth, this podcast.
We are giving goth.
Yeah.
I don't want to give goth, though. I want to give
Me
sunshine
neither.
and rainbows.
I feel like that's why people tune in, is for the sunshine and rainbows.
I know, so I'm really trying to bring it up.
Me too. Speaking of goths, when we went to the Forever One cemetery, there were some goths there. The one in Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
They were happy goths, though.
But
there were
because
goths
they were in a
everywhere.
cemetery.
Yeah. Why do they like cemeteries so much?
Because they like death and darkness, right?
Yeah.
What do goths really like? Just
What do they-
darkness? Or what is their objective? Or is there no objective? It's just a way of life.
It seems to be a way, at least with those people, it seems like a way of life.
Yeah.
Like they worship. Is there a sense of worship? Because it's
No.
not like Satanism or anything.
I don't
like
think
that.
so. I think it's like a style choice.
It's just like a way of life. Like you like the cemetery. Because like I didn't really know. I don't really know goth culture at all. But when we went to the cemetery, it was filled with goths. They quite literally were everywhere.
Wow, I didn't notice them at all.
You didn't see the goths at all? They were everywhere.
No, I was focused more on the peacocks.
The peacocks were cool. Except I'm afraid of them.
Yeah, you're afraid of everything.
Yeah, I don't like peacocks.
You don't like peacocks, you don't like
don't-
squirrels.
I just don't like I'm okay with
You
squirrels.
don't like geese.
I don't like geese.
You don't like large birds.
Hawaii doesn't have large birds. Maybe that's why I never saw them.
Really? I feel like there would be peacocks in Hawaii.
At the zoo, but oh yeah, but not. I mean, I guess I grew up seeing peacocks. I guess.
How do you feel about sea turtles?
I feel good about them. Honestly,
Yeah?
I feel pretty good about them.
Do you think you could touch one and be okay?
I have.
You have?
Yeah,
How was it?
it's fine. They're cool. But like, if you snorkel, you'll see turtles from time to time. You just gotta touch them. You're not
What
supposed
about-
to. It's illegal.
What about dolphins?
I've only seen them at like hotels.
You never swam with dolphins?
No, I've never swam with dolphins.
Do you
Have
think
you?
you'd be scared if you saw a dolphin?
I think they're like very intelligent beings, and they like humans. So I don't think that would be scary.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess
'Cause
I'd
I
like
know-
to hold one.
Because I know their intention. You would want to hold the dolphin.
If it was tiny, I would hold
If
it.
it was a baby.
Yeah, I'd hold a baby dolphin.
How big are they when they're born? I have no idea.
I don't know. They're probably pretty small.
Yeah, pretty much. That would be cute.
Yeah.
I could see you swim with the dolphins.
I
Have you ever
think
swam with dolphins?
No, I think
No.
it would freak me out a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. I'm just not as much as like I like owning a cat. I don't think I'm that big of an animal person.
I understand what you mean.
I
not
do,
either.
and I do love animals, but I'm not like. Well, I don't know. I'm definitely a city girl through and through.
Yeah, for sure. Even when we went to, were we at Redondo? What beach did we go to? In the heat wave. What was the beach called?
Oh,
It was near Redondo, near like Manhattan Beach.
yeah.
It was like a little bit north.
It
of
was
that. Hermosa.
yeah.
Even when we went to Hermosa, we went to the beach town, which was very nice.
It was really cute.
It was really cute. And when you first go there, you're like, oh my God, a beach town. It'd be so cool to live in a beach town. After like 3 hours, I was like, thank God.
But you lived in a beach town and you hated it.
Perhaps that's why. I mean, did you feel differently?
Yeah,
You liked it there?
I did. The one thing that I wouldn't like there, though, it felt like a little too, I don't know, kitschy, if that's the right word.
Yeah, I get it.
And it felt a little too, like, you know when you walk into a really wealthy neighborhood and it just feels like a propped up place and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel real?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of beach towns tend to be that way because they're where a lot of wealth is, usually.
Yeah, and
especially in LA, I've noticed.
Oh, for sure.
Because in San Francisco, I guess by Ocean Beach, it doesn't feel as much like that.
No, not at all. No, it
Um,
doesn't feel like that at all.
But there's still like cute shops, and I still like enjoy the weather and
Yeah.
or not the weather. It's horribly foggy, but you know, the walk along the beach. But like
Yeah, it doesn't have that feel that you feel along the beaches here.
that beach, it was really the Mexican food that disappointed me. I'm not gonna lie.
That did put a damper on the whole thing. But the restaurant itself was so cute. Like it was kind of what we were looking for, I feel like.
Yeah, it was exactly what we were looking for.
The vibe was perfect. It was
The
right by the
vibes
beach.
outweighed the food for
Yeah.
sure, and it actually
And the
made
food was like
it,
super cheap.
it was a really wonderful experience.
Yeah, it was just like when I tasted the old chips and the salsa, which was most definitely like the Costco, like not even the nice Costco organic salsa. Like, what's the worst brand of salsa?
I don't know.
One of
Tostitos?
those. Yeah, it tasted like it could have been that, or even cheaper than that.
Yeah.
Like they definitely.
Yeah. You know,
It was not ideal.
I don't know.
The food, and then when we were in
The
the
ice
car
cream
ride
was
back.
good though.
Oh, the ice cream was good.
Yeah, we went to this like vegan ice
Yummy.
cream place or
It was
something.
Yummy. But when we were crossing back, like after we got a little bit north of downtown LA, I was like,
Yeah,
thank God.
but I think you don't like the beach.
That's true. I don't like small town vibe. I don't like the overall vibe.
Why?
What do you mean? Why? I just feel very I feel it feels claustrophobic to me.
Yeah.
I just like living around, like knowing that there's a lot of people in the vicinity.
But there were a ton of people in the vicinity.
Yeah, but it felt limited to like a block or two. You know what I mean? Like
It
there were a
feels
ton of
fake. There's
houses.
something about it that feels artificial.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. For sure.
I know what you're saying.
You know?
It was really pretty though. Do you think that where I live in SF would be considered a suburb to you?
No, not at all.
No, it's a city.
Not at all.
I was just wondering because you grew up in a high-rise apartment building,
Yeah.
so that's like city to me.
I mean,
You grew up
Oahu.
in downtown,
Yeah, in Oahu, though.
but still, it's downtown.
That's true. I mean, though, it feels very different than, like, even here.
Yeah.
Should be closing at 7 p.m.
So do you feel like, okay, moving to New York would be your ideal then?
I mean, in terms of, like, being there, I definitely feel good. Like, it definitely feels right. But it doesn't feel wrong being here. Like, this is definitely good enough in terms of
I know it's good enough.
the city feel.
I think everything can be good enough, but what is your ideal?
Honestly, this ain't bad because, like, the rent is more reasonable. There's enough city here. You can also get away from it, you know? In New York, you are, like, the best way for it to being described is it's either you're on top of the city or the city's on top of you, in a way. Like, on the days where you don't want to keep moving, the city moves.
You know what's funny is I think you're a very slow-paced person.
I agree.
Like, extremely slow-paced.
I agree.
But you are obsessed with New York.
I'm not obsessed, man.
You are. I would say you are obsessed with New York.
Really? Why?
But I don't know if you could live there, given
Really?
the pace of things.
I think it depends. I think that you could live on any schedule there and it would be fine.
Because you don't feel the pressure of other people's energies.
Me, no, I do not.
Yeah, I do.
I do not.
I do. So I think I actually might do well in New York.
I think you would too.
But right now, LA is really slow, and I feel very slow. And I don't know if it's
LA
because
does feel slow.
I don't know if it's because I'm adapting to LA or if it's just because I have a slow life. So maybe it's better that LA is slow, so that I don't feel the guilt
Right.
of not being fast.
Of not being a Speedy
Well,
Gonzalez.
the issue is that I don't know.
What?
We all know the issue. It's like
Sure.
the age-old question, and I was saying this in our other podcast before it flopped, that the reason why we started this podcast in the first place was because we wanted to be able to look back on our lives when we were successful or have a reference for other people, because I'm always looking at careers that I aspire to have.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find out where they started. And you can see, like, okay, they did their first project when they were 24 years old, and then they didn't work for a year. And then you can sort of see the pattern there. Or, they started on Twitter and then created a comedy pilot, something like that.
Yeah.
But you don't really see their day-to-day. And I think that the day-to-day is the hardest part.
Oh my God, it's so much harder than getting to audition or work on a project, even if there's rejection involved in there.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think a lot of people, and what I realized from, speaking to actors who are working or speaking to actors who have other actor friends,
Right.
that a lot of people are afraid to try
Yes,
because
definitely.
they're afraid of the rejection.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you straight up, if you're watching this podcast, the rejection is the least scary part of acting.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
it
I mean,
because it doesn't feel personal at all.
no.
You are putting yourself out there
It
so
might
often.
the first couple of times, but you quickly become desensitized.
But
to
I
it.
think
It's like Mormons. The reason why they send them out on missions is so that they get confronted with rejection. Like
Yeah.
they know knocking on your door is not going to yield people inviting you in their home.
yeah.
It's so that they face rejection. I feel that, and they become quickly desensitized to it.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like that's similar with this, where it's just like,
I mean, that sounds way more brutal to me, but
oh, yeah, I mean,
I
going
agree.
door to door sucks.
yeah.
But in the sense, like, it could feel like my last audition, which was Alopecia Boy.
Right.
It just feels brutalized, man. I mean, depending on what they have you do, for everyone it's different. Sometimes the shit you're getting is great, but most of the time it's not. And then, like, you send it out, and then you're just waiting. And you're right. Even, like, I would take Alopecia Boy over just waiting.
Well, here's how I see it, because I do think that I'm fortunate enough to be getting quality auditions,
Right.
and I love my rep. So I think that I have that privilege.
Sure.
So from my perspective, auditioning is rejection is not the hardest part,
No.
because I'm going up for these projects in my mind, and it's not that I'm negative or anything. It's just that I don't expect to hear back from anything that I've ever auditioned for.
Yeah.
I never, when I do hear back, I'm like, oh, that was nice, but I never expect to hear back.
Right.
So it doesn't feel like rejection. It
Yeah.
feels like I'm just, doing a little project, a very miniature scale of a project, sending it to someone so that they can see me. And, it's like uploading a post or a podcast. Like, you
Right.
don't know if people are going to interact or respond. Like, part of it is also just for yourself.
Yeah.
And
I feel like it has to be, because if it's not, you're going to lose your damn mind.
no, of course. And I am losing my mind.
Right.
But I think, like, the hardest part, more than the rejection, is the unknowing of where your career path will be,
Right. And that comes from the moments where you're not doing it.
which is all the time.
Yeah. Which is the majority of the time.
Like, I've been, I've been professionally auditioning for 2 years now,
Right.
over 2 years. And I've gotten one thing, and it wasn't from my agent.
Right.
So I don't know, like, that does, when you look at those stats, it feels really shitty.
Yeah, but I think that as far as stats go, that's even better than most. You know what I mean? And that's like a harsh realization. But I think it's completely normal. Unfortunately, I wish it weren't that case, but I think that is completely normal. And it's not something that you read about or something that the world prepares you for. I think you're about to move to Los Angeles. You're like, oh my God, you hear about the Fonz booking, in the first week. It was like the first audition he did.
Who?
The Fonz.
Who's that?
Henry Winkler.
Okay.
He booked like a huge sitcom. That was like his first audition. And
That's
I think that
sickening, bro. That's actually sickening.
of course it is, but I think like deep down in your heart, like when you move out there, you feel like it's gonna happen fast, or you think about yourself on a time scale. Or the other side of that is you almost like don't try in a way, or you suppress that because it's not that, because I feel like you understand that rejection is going to happen, but by like not trying, because trying is very scary, because if you try and fail, like it feels like shit.
Yeah.
So you see both sides of that coin, of not getting the thing you want and the waitingness while you're trying, and you're just waiting for the opportunity to come, to get up at bat again, or you see the not trying aspect of it, or just the waiting aspect of it, which is a different kind of waiting, I guess. I feel like that sometimes.
You do?
Well, I feel like, you know, maybe for myself, I think I'm somewhat stubborn. Like for example, I turned down the alopecia audition. Well, on one hand, like they wanted me to shave my head, to look like I had alopecia, and I would have to have kept that hairstyle for like a couple weeks. So on one end, like I felt like that was somewhat demeaning, but like I don't know. Like, do you feel excited? You get excited when you get an audition?
I do.
I like kind of cringe a little.
I know why.
Why?
I think you don't like the auditions that you're getting.
I mean, that's true.
So
Yeah, I think maybe for things I like, maybe.
I
more,
also
but-
think that you're someone,
Yeah.
and you can cut this out if you don't want me to say it. So,
Uh-huh.
but
Great.
I think that you're someone sometimes that, because you're so intelligent and
Oh.
you're so naturally talented,
Oh.
you get easily embarrassed by trying.
I think that that's totally true.
And
I'm not talking about the intelligent part. I think I get embarrassed by trying.
but I think it's because you're so smart and
I don't
everything
think
is
that's true.
genuinely.
Why
genuinely.
would that be the case?
Because I think that I'm a very hard worker, and I do think I'm talented.
Yeah.
But I am not a naturally smart person.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. And so, not to that level, Aaron. Not to that
what level?
level. There's a different intelligence that you have when you speak and when you think about things, and you're very naturally gifted at a lot of things. I was always good at one thing, and it's the thing I loved most, and I got better at it because I knew that that's what I wanted to do since I was like 4 years old.
Mm.
But I think the thing with the difference between us is like, I don't know. I've felt embarrassed my whole life about everything
Right.
because stuff never came easy to me
Right.
like that. So I don't know. I guess I'm not afraid. I was always a tryhard in school.
Yeah.
You know, like I think with you, and you were kind of talking about this with me last night, like
Right.
you kind of dreaded performing in front of, and I did too because I would get embarrassed, but like I think that trying hard in school or trying hard kind of embarrasses you sometimes.
I think it depends on what. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think like, you know, saying like, oh, I worked really hard on this. The idea probably that someone doesn't like it would probably hurt my feelings.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot of things that I've worked really hard on that people probably don't like.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, like you also, I think as an actor, you're just going to be doing embarrassing shit for like the majority of your career.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's
and
totally
like
true.
the odds of like a perfect script coming in,
Oh,
a
it's
perfect
impossible.
audition coming in, those odds are low.
Yeah.
A perfect script coming in and a perfect, like you book it
Oh yeah.
with
it's
a perfect
impossible.
director, like that's just not going to happen your first time maybe. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like there's
no.
always going to be something. And if you could take like, you could have a really great experience if you just say F it to all of that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
and also
sure.
I think because you're a writer,
Yeah.
like I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think that there's this weird sense of imposter syndrome that I think a lot of people maybe in the arts feel at times.
Yeah, I feel it a lot.
There's this actually great kind of documentary called F is for Fake. And it's about like Orson Welles when he's sort of in the last leg of his career. He made Citizen Kane when he was 25. It's the greatest movie of all time. It's his first movie. He's in it. It's amazing. And he's made some obviously other incredible movies, but like he is in the last leg. He's poor. He's living in France. He's alone. And he comes across this guy who was working on this documentary about this artist named Elmer Del Ori, and he's a faker. He's a master faker. He can fake any painting in the world. If you give him a painting, he'll do it perfectly, and they'll zoom in on video of him going through like, making a Da Vinci or, anyone you want, Matisse. And they'll joke about how Matisse, like, I'm better than Matisse because Matisse had hesitation and I don't, so I have to pretend like I'm shitty and I have to hesitate. Otherwise it won't come across as legitimate. And what's funny about the documentary is, Orson Welles is just so crazy. He's fucking insane at this point. And the editing is so berserk. But it's funny even with like this quote unquote like master filmmaker, because on one end he was picking up this documentary for someone else. He wasn't the originator. He was finishing it on someone else's behalf. But on one end it's about people who fake things. It's about this master faker, and in the pursuit of like him being a master artist, he's not developing any of his own work, and you can tell like in his life, he was not so secretly gay. There was a lot that he was just kind of this pimp living in Ibiza who was like really rich for selling these fakes, and you could just see this sort of almost like imposter syndrome even with this incredibly talented person, almost feeling like they're trying to get themselves to like deserve this level of praise or expertise that they're being given. And then on the other end, like for Orson Welles, who's making the documentary, he feels like he has to prove himself. So he goes into like insane levels, like to like where he'll do like magic tricks in the middle. He'll pause the movie and he'll be like, and you thought that was interesting. Well, let me show you. Like the film opens with like his girlfriend, his mistress.
Orson Welles' mistress?
Yeah. So he made this movie, and it's like...
Isn't it about the guy who fakes paintings?
Yeah, it's so insane. So, like, it'll cut to, like, these... his mistress, and it'll be, like, it'll start... the movie starts with, like, her ass and walking through... I think Paris or Rome, walking through Rome, and, like, guys looking at her butt. And it'll be like, that was an editing trick. Like, he's just, like, he'll do these insane tangents, almost to, like, prove something to the viewer that he's like still this master guy, filmmaker. And so it's really sad almost watching him. Like he'll do this trick at the airport where he does a magic trick where he puts her in this box, and then he says, now she'll finally, and like he fits her in her suitcase, and like that's the end of the trick, and he's like, well, now she'll finally fit on the plane. And you're just like, ew, you're a pathetic man, But it's also mixed in with these great moments where Orson Welles is just genuinely himself and does insane things. But you still even see this really interesting, I think, case study on imposter syndrome, which I think the movie is. It's not really about painting. It's about feeling like you're an imposter constantly, and the lengths that people will go to in order to try to tell themselves that they deserve what they have.
Do you feel like you do that?
I don't necessarily feel like I go to great lengths, but I definitely can empathize with feeling like you need to perform.
Do you sometimes feel like you don't do things because you're afraid of...
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think you're afraid of what people will think, or you feel afraid of like being embarrassed?
I think it's more of like I don't even think it's like a social thing of like feeling shamed amongst my peers. I think it's like a personal thing.
Feeling shamed by yourself.
Yeah, or like being, oh, that was shit, or that wasn't good. I think it's more of a personal thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to this kind of, I don't care what other people think. I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, to a degree, obviously everyone does, but I don't think that's why I would not do something.
I think that you hold yourself to a really high standard.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
do too.
I think you should. I think anyone who's good at
I think it's hard because, like, you have a lot of people or artists who kind of just put something together and it's not very good, and they just talk about how incredible it is and how hard they worked and all this, and you can't stand that. So on one hand, like, you don't want to be that,
right?
Because that's everything that you stand against.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's disgusting, but it's also like, then you stop yourself so much because you're so afraid of being that.
Right.
That you don't put anything out there.
Yeah, there are two sides of the coin. I think both are gross. But yeah, I'm definitely more on...
Well, I think one is grosser than the other.
For sure.
But I do think that it's a shame because as your partner, like, I see how talented you are and what you're capable of, and I can see you holding back. Yeah. And I think that that's a sad thing for me to watch because I feel like you miss doing those things. And it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I talk about how I miss doing those things all the freaking time. That's all I blab about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that you must feel that way too, even though you don't talk about it.
I feel like Orson.
You want to put me in a box in the airport?
You be my mistress, girl?
Do you think I would be your mistress?
Yeah, you were.
You think that if you...
He was fully living in Rome with his freaking like 20-year-old girlfriend while his wife was at home. It was crazy. It's so insane. And she's in the movie for like a lot.
The wife?
No, the
mistress.
girlfriend. He like literally just was broke and ran away to do this movie with his mistress.
So he had a full-ass wife.
Oh, a full-ass wife, yeah.
And what did she say about the movie when it came out? Do you know?
Well, she's not like she doesn't play his girlfriend. She just plays a woman.
But it was obvious that it was his mistress.
I mean, people knew, obviously. I'm sure she knew. But like the movie's so wild. It's a great movie.
I feel like people of that caliber have arrangements.
Yeah, I think they did. I think that they lived a lot of their life in separate.
Yeah.
But they were technically married. Yeah, it's a great movie. He's so insane. What a psycho.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Highly recommend it. But yeah, I feel like that feeling is a commonplace among all people who I think just try in general. I don't know. I think the human brain is so weird. Not to tie it all back to the brain.
The brain of the shrimp.
The brain of the shrimp.
Yeah.
That's how I feel right now.
Me too. I feel because we're approaching the end-ish of this podcast, so I can just say that basically my grandmother saw the podcast of me, Andreas, and Leela.
Hell yeah.
Where Leela was talking about vaping. And we all got in trouble for that. But actually, my grandmother, she was very gracious, speaking to me, and very sweet, and she was really just concerned. But like anyone, you know, like when
Ideal for sure.
you watch, that was probably the worst podcast for her to watch because we were talking about some crazy things in that.
It was wild.
Even hearing her grandchildren swear was really jarring for her because like my abuelitos, they don't even swear in Spanish. Like I don't know swear words in Spanish. I know a ton in Greek. Let me tell you that.
Oh, I do too by now. Oh, I do too.
But I don't know any unless I've learned it on my own in Spanish because they just don't swear.
Right.
And so I think them hearing us swear was really jarring and hearing us talk so openly on the internet. It was like, it was just kind of like, why do you do that? Mm-hmm. Like, why do you choose to share your personal life in such detail?
Yeah. And
I don't know, like, I think instead of feeling defensive, I really turned inward and was like, why do I do that? Why do I feel the need to share my life on the internet? Which is interesting because I actually feel like I'm a pretty private person.
Right.
Especially like one-on-one. Like I don't really talk about our relationship that much to my friends.
Yeah,
like
me neither.
I don't really air out a lot of things to my friends unless it's, you know, I don't feel like, unless you're a very close friend, I'm that.
Yeah.
I'm personal and I'm open sharing things, but you know, I also don't feel like I post that much on social media. And in a weird way, like as this podcast grows, it still feels like a small community.
Right.
And I think that anyone who chooses to watch this, because a lot of my friends don't watch this podcast, majority of my family and friends don't watch it. Yeah. But I think if you've chosen to watch it and if you've watched it for this long, even now, you've seen me and Aaron grow over the course of what, a year? Mm-hmm. Has it been?
It's been over a year.
Over a year.
Year and a half.
A year and a half. And I think that there's like a weird connection that we have with our audience because podcasting feels different than any other medium where it's like you're really just sitting and having a conversation. So I think that you're able to have more grace for the mistakes that we make. Yeah. And able to understand that we're flawed people. And that sometimes we're just being silly. Like, I also think that there's an understanding of humor that you have of me watching this that's outside of... Yeah, so I thought about it, and I actually really sat with myself, and I was like, should I continue to do something even if it's not growing at this rapid pace and I'm not really making money from it, and I do feel, even though it's not acting, I feel a sense of satisfaction when I do podcasts, because I feel a connection to people who are watching us.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely. And yeah, it definitely contextualizes the things that I think that we're really self-critical about. And in a weird way, we want to talk about it. Whereas I feel like outside
and
of
I
that,
think a lot of people in a lot of different generations, they don't understand why people share so much online.
right?
And I can,
Or the internet itself as a medium.
yes, and I understand that. I do
Yeah.
empathize with that, because I'm so insecure about sharing so much online, but then I realize that I've chosen a career which is going to put me in the public eye hopefully one day.
Right.
So if I'm so afraid of being seen, I'm never going to be seen.
Or being seen a certain way. Like, I feel like gone are the days where, you can... I feel like the idea of, like, hiding most of yourself and only sharing this very polished version is not appealing to people. Or at
I
least
think
not to me.
people are tired of that.
I think it's really annoying.
I think that's
actually.
why a lot of celebrities, honestly, are of that era are falling.
For sure. I think that that's true. Or there's only a handful who are able to just do their thing and nothing else,
Yeah.
But I think that that's dying. I think that that's gonna die very soon, or they will become...
And I think that there's a way that, like, that idea of that dying scares me, because that's always what I wanted to be.
Sure.
Like, I always wanted to be just an actor, and I
Yeah, me
always
too.
wanted to, but I think also the hard truth is it's so hard to access that career. And sometimes you have to find different ways in, or just not even different ways in, just different ways to express yourself.
Yeah, that's all it is, man.
Because
That's literally all it is.
you're so limited. Like, gone are the days of, like, big producers finding you and making a star.
Yeah.
And if that does happen to you, then that's fantastic.
But
It's
I just
also,
really don't
you don't
believe
know
that's
when
happening.
that will happen to you. You don't know how. And again,
Yeah.
like, I've been auditioning for 2.5 or 2 years, and I look at my tapes and I'm very proud of every tape that I send in, but I'm not hearing back from 99% of the tapes I send in.
Right.
And, there was a whole strike. So it's like, if I cared what everyone thought all the time, if I cared how my family viewed me all the time, and I said this to my mom and she was very supportive of me, I would do nothing with my life.
Yes.
I wouldn't have gone to college. I wouldn't have pursued a degree in acting. I wouldn't have fallen in love with you. I wouldn't have moved in with you. I wouldn't be living in Los Angeles.
Right.
And I wouldn't have gotten the few but very special opportunities that I've been lucky enough to have.
Yeah.
So I think there has to be a certain trust in yourself. And what I appreciate about podcasting in this community is that they know all of that stuff about me.
Sure.
And, like, 500 and whatever strangers,
Yeah, they see that.
they see that, and I'm really bad at faking it, if you will. I'm really bad at it.
For sure.
I can't pretend.
Right.
So what you're getting is the real deal.
It's the real deal, baby.
It's the real deal, baby. Yeah.
But even and to tie it back to what I was saying earlier, even though, like, it's whether you're a fake painter or a director who's insecure about your career, or a writer, who's writing fake biographies, which is also what they talk about in the movie, yourself is still coming through that,
Yeah.
And so no matter how much you hide, all you're left with is yourself
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And you have to face that at some point.
You do.
And I think that is something that annoys a lot of people about maybe this generation. But I think it is a healthier outlook. I think it's just like you're being... The annoyingness is oversaturated, but at least it's there, and you can choose whether or not to sift through it. You know, so it's a give and take, I think. And yeah, I think for us, this is just our way of dealing with it.
Yeah. So thanks for watching and supporting along the way.
True, fam.
Anything else here?
I think I'm good.
Me too. I want a little chocolate snack.
I want a marmalade and some biscuits.
I found a recipe for marmalade and biscuits.
We'll attach the marmalade and biscuits we make later.
Maybe we should make a video and post it on our Insta since we're starting that.
Of marmalade and biscuits?
Of me making the marmalade and biscuits.
That'd be good. Like the Halloween munch that you made.
Guys, I tried to make this Halloween munch and it was it was so sticky that I added water to it to like, I don't know, help it dissolve or whatever. And it just ended up being soggy and it was so bad. But I do love Muddy Buddies, you guys. Like, so Halloween munch is like kind of like Muddy Buddies.
Yeah.
Let me just debrief the Halloween munch just to leave you on a little happy note, okay? Halloween munch: Chex Mix, candy corn, pretzels, what are those? Reese's Pieces. I think that was it.
Right.
Or was there something else that I was missing? Also those like little pumpkin candy corns. So you drizzle that all in white chocolate and mix it together, okay? And there is your Halloween munch. It's supposed to be a nice little crunchy. I probably would have added, maybe some, I don't know, maybe some, like powdered sugar to make it more like a Muddy Buddy.
Right.
But
powder it up.
Anyway, my Halloween munch turned out terribly. We can actually insert the video of me making Halloween munch.
Ew, I don't even want to go back to there.
We were so crusty back then.
Yes, correct. Anyway, we are refined in 2024, and we will be making marmalade and biscuits.
Yes. Fee-fa-fa-fum bitches.